body of Dr. Florence Weaver was found brutally murdered in her home this morning.
Did you know her?
No, but I saw her die. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing murders as they're happening.
Hello?
He says his name is Gabriel. I think he's someone from my past.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Whoop, whoop.
This week, we'll be discussing the new classic, Malignant, starring
It don't matter.
some very fine actors and actresses, allegedly.
Famous director, though.
Directed by James Wan. This is important to note. But, just because I don't know who these actors and actresses are doesn't mean that they're bad, per se. Who's to say?
They're fine. I've been listening to this podcast about the making of the Bonfire of the Vanities.
Okay.
You got nothing but stars there. But do you really cast Tom Hanks as basically Christian Grey? I mean, like as
Christian Grey. Is that what Bonfires of the Vanities about?
I haven't read this shit, but the podcast is amazing. I mean, why you pick Brian De Palma? Why you pick Tom Hanks to be a thoroughly unlikable person and actually try to believe that?
Impossible.
Believe that he is leaving his wife for Melanie Griffith? Come on.
Impossible. Who would believe such a thing? Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis of Malignant.
I'm telling you, people, you are in for a treat. A treat. I was like, no, I'm not going to watch this movie. This looks dumb. And then I watched it and I was like, this is amazing. So, boom. It has all the elements of a good movie. It has extreme lighting. It has crazy effing music. It's got unabsorbed twins. It has got murder and mayhem. It's got hauntings. What else do you need, Brother Bear? All right, let me lay it on you.
Lay it on me.
You got an abusive husband, and like Jack Nicholson, you knew he wasn't going to be long for this earth. Cracked his wife in the head, and all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. You got ninjas once again in Seattle. I'm sure Samira again has something to do with this. No wells this time. So haunting, murder, murder, murder. I'm seeing the murders. He's channeling me. Oh my God, I forget what it's called. Invisible friends and children. Or is it? Womp womp. All I can say is it's basket case, but without a basket.
Her skull is the basket.
You are right. It's a cranium basket.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Now, we both had heard of this movie, obviously. There's a lot of media about it. But
it came out the same time as Candyman.
That's correct. Now, it was released on HBO Max for, 30 days or whatever it was. And we both were like, oh, we should do that for the show. We have one day to watch it.
Raced home from vacation, threw the luggage into the living room, flopped on the couch, and hit HBO Max.
Boom. Now, I got home hours after you. So this was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, on a school night, I might add. I've been driving all day. I was thoroughly exhausted. And I'm just like, no matter how many times I fall asleep, I have to get up, do some jumping jacks, and just keep watching until I can finally make it through this GD film.
I'm sure you did not fall asleep in this movie.
You would be mistaken. I fell asleep multiple times.
What?
Look, I was in a comfy chair. It was, I saw a shape behind you, by the way. My goodness. You have an open door behind you. I wasn't sure if it was Malignant or what was happening. We have the cameras on, ladies and gentlemen. I thought Malignant was coming up behind you, Aaron. Who's to say? Anyway, it was a comfy chair.
Oh God!
William,
you scared me.
That was Malignant.
I was like checking my email while you were talking, and then I was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, I saw the
There's Malignant a third time. Sweet Jesus.
I hope that's William. He hasn't responded to me, so it could be Malignant.
It could be your unabsorbed
Trying to
twin.
crawl back into my noggin.
Sweet Jesus. So I fell asleep multiple times, comfy chair, late at night, exhaustion, but I made it. I finally plowed forward and did it. Now, I finally had to change the description of our podcast to include the words spoilers aplenty because we don't give spoiler warnings. We just plow right in. And this movie's still in theaters, for God's sakes. So
Well, that's what you get.
that's
Either
what you
you're
get.
familiar. That's like complaining that Stephen King books are scary. Does he have a spoiler alert? It's scary. We're spoilers. We're a book club for films. Watch the damn film and then listen to us and then argue with us.
We are spoiled, if you will. Spoiled
It's all
rotten.
spoils all the time.
The spoils of war. Because the movie, the fact that it's a partially absorbed twin is a surprise. That is a reveal towards the end of the movie, last 15 minutes or something.
I did not spot it. I knew there was something hinky because I knew the invisible friend was clearly a woman.
Well, it had kind of long hair, right?
It was the build.
Okay.
Long hair. It looked like every one of the anime crazy Deadlands bullshit my son is gibbering about all the time. It totally did.
It kind of looked like a forgotten member of the Ramones, if you will, in the darkness.
The Ramones versus the Cure versus some kind of anime with a leather duster bullshit.
That's very important that the character put on the duster before getting to business.
I kept saying to myself, I'm like, where are they getting these clothes? So does the killer are just going to what's the store in the mall?
Hot Topic.
Hot Topic. Is this on the Hot Topic Christmas list with my chain wallet and my Harlequin stretch pants?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it is. This movie had a lot of different aspects. I know we talked about in the past that it has kind of an Italian giallo kind of quality.
Oh, for sure. I love the nod to the giallo.
The giallo, kind of a deep red kind of quality. But it also has. Go ahead.
Do you understand that giallo means it's a detective?
Right, like it's a mystery to be solved, a murder mystery.
It's a mystery to be solved, but it's very Argento with some of the climax music and the extreme lighting. Loved it.
It also has those qualities of those I keep seeing Malignant lurking. There's Malignant again. Look over your shoulder. Okay, Malignant just closed
down the door. We were too loud for Malignant. My door.
You're listening to this at home wondering what the hell we're talking about. Every time I'm looking at the screen, I'm seeing Malignant creeping by. So thankfully, Malignant closed the door. Thank you, Malignant, wherever you may be. What I was going to say is that it has those qualities of those kind of Japanese kind of supernatural thrillers where it's kind of the long, dark character kind of crackling, spider legging around in the background. So it's
hair covering up the face. Yeah, a lot of spider moves, bone thin. Yeah.
Right, like Ringu or Ju-on the Grudge, those kind of films. Absolutely.
It's Samira's aunt. That's what it is.
No question. Should we just jump right in to the what
baby,
the F?
I have spoiled it. I have jumped in. I have done it all. I've done it all.
You have done. Well, it starts out in like some kind of institution of some sort. That's on an.
And why wouldn't it be?
You've got to, and I love the scientific hospital / research station that's like in a haunted castle up on the hill. Always very important.
Nobody's ever seen before. How did that get here? It's 90 stories tall. Yep. Perched on a cliff in prime, like Seattle neighborhood. Like, where did that insane asylum come from that's left unlocked?
There's no mention. Evidently, there's a crazy child on the loose at the research station. Like literally the security guard opens the door and gets his arm basically snapped off because Gabriel's on the loose. Gabriel is running wild, and we don't know who Gabriel is yet at this point.
Except they had like little kid. It looked like an 8-year-old, and then they had little kid socks on.
Yes.
So they're letting you know that it is a kid with socks. But then Future Flash, when you see what Gabriel is, who the hell feet were those? Because they were not fitting in those socks. Those socks had meat on.
Okay, well, the grand reveal at the end of the movie is that the protagonist, I don't even know what her name is.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I just figured it all out. That's actually her they're dragging.
Yes, that's her, yes. So there's a girl, the main character, this woman named, not Sydney. Sydney's the sister. What is her name? Emily, Madison, I don't know. They give her 15 different names. Yeah. She was born with basically Quado climbing out of her back from Total Recall. That's basically what it is. The back of her head is another evil head, like Lord Voldemort, essentially.
Yeah. And it was straight up Voldemort with little rice teeth.
Little rice teeth. Plus, there were these weird, like, praying mantis like limbs poking out of her shoulder blades. Okay.
They're just like bones, but like there's no muscle on them. How are they even moving? They're cracking and snapping. It's Quado, but only more disgusting.
It was shockingly, as that might be said, more disgusting than Quado, because Quado is quite unsettling, if you ask me.
But it is. But we must say that none of this is revealed until the end of the movie.
The last 15 minutes or whatever. Because up to this point, you're right. She's living with her abusive husband, who says like some of the most over the top, ridiculous, abusive husband things, where it's just like, how many more of my babies are you gonna lose? Or because it's like she keeps having miscarriages, so of course he's gonna throw that in her face. What the?
Yeah. He's mad because she's not at work and turned the TV off because she'd like to lay down.
That was the best part.
Even though she's like 6 months pregnant.
Yes, she's pulling a double shift at the hospital, coming home 9 months pregnant. Her deadbeat husband is on the bed watching UFC, so you know he's an abusive husband already.
All he needed was a wife beater shirt.
Like guzzling Miller High Life tall boys.
No, I think it was Meisterbrow Life.
There you go. And she's like, I need to lay down because I'm about to have a miscarriage. And he's like, what the hell? Why are you messing with me?
Why you gotta be a bitch? You know I can only watch TV in the bedroom of our 9-story mansion.
Exactly. Good times. She's very well compensated, evidently. And he flips out and basically smashes her head against the wall. And that's when it goes down. That's when the problems arise. Mm-hmm. Good times. But I
didn't realize, of course, you don't realize it's her.
No.
Until the end, because he leaves. I'm gonna go, baby, it's your fault because you keep making me mad or whatever bleezity blahs that they always say in these movies.
Right.
So I'm gonna make you some tea to, I don't know, pour on your gaping wound. So she locks the door.
Yes.
and
passes out basically. Right. So he's sleeping on the couch, and then there's some kind of bizarro Slenderman spider creature walking around in the dark, and he's promptly killed. Crack, crack. When the police arrive, his neck is like at a 90-degree angle. I mean, he is jacked. Yeah. Sad situation.
Supernatural jacked.
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, she is allegedly attacked as well. Because she goes down to find out what's going on, and then a creature kind of comes at her, and literally she tries to close the door, and the door gets blown off its hinges. But later, we see that the door still on its hinges.
Mm-hmm.
What could it mean?
What could it be?
Who could it be now?
There's all this stuff where this evil presence is doing business, like getting revenge on all the doctors at the hospital.
Right.
But while it's doing it, it seems the world melts, and she's like a witness to all that's going on.
Right.
She like space travels, astral projects, We don't know till later.
She has kind of a George C. Scott sort of premonition from time to time.
I.
Right. And over the course of the movie, we learn that she was adopted, and there's a big reveal where she turns to her sister and goes, "Sydney, I'm adopted." Bum 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 bum. As if who gives a damn? At this point, we don't know that that's supposed to have any significance. It's like, oh, okay, interesting.
And sisters, you kept that a secret?
Right.
That would have been flung out. I'm not even related to you, you bitch.
The first time she
as sisters do. Exactly.
first time she borrowed your lip liner, it's on. Basically.
Get your hands off my lip liner, you damn dirty ape.
Pretty much. And I love that Madison knows she's adopted. Like, evidently the parents mentioned, by the way, you are adopted. But don't tell your sister, by the way. I'm not sure how it works. Who's to say?
I literally wrote down the "I'm adopted" music because that's when the freaky music starts getting it on. The yellow music starts crescendoing. It's fantastic.
Now, I wrote this note. How would turning on the lights protect you? Because at one point she's back in her house, convinced that the creature's in the house, and she keeps turning on the lights as if that's going to ward off evil or something. I'm not sure that's how it works.
I don't know. Ask George C. Scott in The Changeling.
It couldn't have hurt, George C. That's all I'm saying. And then it's
because she's a little simple, so that's like a childlike thing to do. If you lived in that jacked up murder mansion, you'd be flipping some lights on.
Well, maybe she's suffering from brain damage. I mean, remember she got her head bashed against the drywall at the opening scene. So who's to say?
No, as we learn later, she's jacked up from day one.
Yes, she is. It seems like there's only 2 police in all of Seattle, and they investigate every murder. Did you notice that? The same 2 police investigate the murder of her husband, and then show up at the next place for the next murder. It's like,
it's the fake Wanda Sykes and the fake Benjamin Bratt. Boom.
That is exactly right.
With the most Seattle Northwest name, I can't even think of what it was because I was like, "What is its name? What is his name?" It was so bizarre.
Right.
Do you even remember?
I could look it up.
It's like K's and then all vowels.
Yeah, he's Welsh.
Yeah, not Welsh.
Kekoa Shaw.
Kokoda, and you have to see not Dakota.
No.
Kokoda.
There's no D. It's just Kakoa, like Krakoa.
Kakoa. Krakatoa. At least I heard of that.
That's it.
It's such a hippie name. Go.
Yes, Kekoa Shaw and Regina Moss are the detectives investigating seemingly every murder in the greater Seattle area. And SeaTac.
I wish it was Wanda Sykes. I wish it was Wanda. She's like a fake Wanda Sykes, but Wanda Sykes would have been like, get your fucking self out of there.
Pretty much. Well, at one point she says, like, let me put an APB out for Sloth from the Goonies. So she was throwing up some zingers. Some good times.
She was. This would only have been better if it was in fact Wanda Sykes and the other cop would have been Larry David.
Right. Well, and the Malignant was actually Sloth. I think that would have been the final whammy. Can we?
Oh, with an eye here and an eye here. Oh, that would have been fantastic.
And seemingly every time Madison wakes up from one of her visions, the back of her head is bleeding profusely, and yet never goes to the hospital, has it checked out. Strange.
I would have had that checked out. Did they put her in the hospital the first time? If your head is still bleeding, like you get up, I'm like, there's something going on. Maybe a stitch. Maybe that Band-Aid or the crazy glue didn't work.
Clearly not. Throw a couple staples in that bad boy. That's all I'm saying. For God's sakes. So, yeah, this woman gets abducted who's like, she's a tour guide for the Seattle Underground. Is that what it is? And there's no mention for literally an hour and a half of this movie who this woman is or what her significance is. She's kidnapped by Malignant. She's tied her up in kind of a crucifix sort of way in a abandoned attic, or so we think.
I thought it was a factory or something.
Right. It was basically the attic of like Goodwill thrift marts or something, because that's where crispy old Malignant finds the leather
Was there
duster.
a Victorian wheelchair in there too?
There's going to be nothing but changeling callbacks in this movie, as far as I'm concerned. So we don't know what the hell is going on. We don't know what the malignant creature is. Is it like a ghost? Is it a demon from hell? We have no freaking idea what's going on.
I have all this notes. I'm like, is it a goth metal man? Is it Samira's brother? Is it just a woman with a meat face? Is it her sister who crawled through the window? I have all these notes.
All of those could be the answer, frankly. Go ahead. What else you got?
I got she's not immortal. Whatever it is a physical being, because injured its foot jumping down the stairs. So that was, even though they were hanging from the frickin' ceiling like a spider baby. Clearly, this creature, I call it Samira Spider Shadow, is clearly mortal, so you can do damage to it.
Doesn't it get shot, though? I could have sworn there are scenes where the cops are shooting at it, and it just kind of was like, whatevski.
They kind of worked it out. They stretched out a little bit. The bullet squeezed out. We don't know.
Good times.
Maybe it's a bad shot. I don't know.
Could be. At one point, the sister is like, well, I'm going to investigate what the story is. So her sister's adopted. So I'm going to go to the crazy research hospital on the haunted hill, basically, to find out
at midnight. Because when I want to look for files, I like to do it in midnight in the abandoned insane asylum with no flashlight.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my plan in my like Toyota Tercel.
It is absolutely
alone without telling anyone.
It is absolutely the abandoned insane asylum, and this place is bloody huge. It's like the Empire State Building. What are you going to start in room 1 and just work your way through the hospital? There's no roadmap here. What are you doing? Yeah.
Apparently she doesn't need one, because she walked immediately to the right place, opened up a file, and there it was.
Sweet Jesus. And of course there's no guards.
Isn't there any kind of like HIPAA code? Wouldn't the files be somewhere?
I think
you just leave them with like the people that are too sick to leave. You just leave everything there.
Yes.
My God, that place would be condos now. It's like on a cliff in the Sound. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. When you abandon an insane asylum, you abandon the lunatics, and their files are just left to unlock the door so any passerby can come in for a little light reading. That's how they do.
Light reading.
It's a sad situation.
And conveniently, videotapes of everything.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Otherwise, we'd never know what happened.
That's another Samira. We'd never know what Samira's brother was.
That's right. Basically.
And then 7 days later.
7 days. Oh, no. Yeah. If it wasn't for the crazy videotapes, she'd had to have had a George C. type premonition. Oh, now I know the whole story. Thank goodness for VHS. Good Lord.
I like that they happen to have one. So I'm guessing this is in the past, because now the only place you find VHS is like estate sales.
That's true. They dusted it off, because that was the grand reveal later, where it's like the cops are downstairs interrogating Madison, and the woman locked in the attic frees herself enough to fall through the ceiling and reveal, oh, I've been in Madison's attic the entire time. Crash.
In front of the police. Let's be clear. Very coincidentally. And I'm like, do you have termites? What the hell? And she literally fell like 3 feet. And it was enough for the whole floor of the attic to come tumbling down.
With the wall.
And let's be straight. It had to have gone through 2 floors since she was in the attic.
Yes. Bam. Crunch. Crunch. Exactly. What's that noise? What? Yeah, it's an American Horror Story, to say the least.
Oh my God, American Horror Story is the worst this year.
Wow. So there are a lot of grand reveals in this movie. So then there's the video where they show essentially, okay. Emily, which is Madison's real name, evidently, was born with a crazy mutant Gabriel poking out of her back of her head and her back. And her 15-year-old mother gave her up for adoption, and the mother is the one who was chained up in the attic all this time.
Well, let's be clear. The 15-year-old pregnant mom shows up to donate her babies to the insane asylum. This wasn't Child Protective Services for them to do what? Split them like string cheese? I don't know. They're just like, did she get a check for this? Or here, you can have
I want to
them.
be clear that it's not really an insane asylum. It just looks like an insane asylum for all the people who haven't seen this movie. But you're right. She rolls in there and just says, look, just write me a check and you can run whatever experiments you want.
Wait a minute. You're saying it's not an insane asylum? What is it? It's a research hospital?
It's some sort of... It's like...
It's Dr. X's school for Samira children.
First of all, there's no Dr. X. Let me stop you right there. It's Professor X. Oh, sweet.
Well, he went back to school. This is later on.
Yes, he's not a medical doctor. He just works at a university. So there you go.
He just plays one.
Right. He might have his master's if he's lucky. I'm not. Who's to say? Anyway.
Well, maybe it's like Bill Cosby got the honorary.
He did. He got the honorary EDD from Howard University.
From University of
Sweet, from Grand Canyon. Exactly. Oh, sweet Jesus. So yeah, she drops off her mutant baby, and they try to get Gabriel to kind of behave for a while there, and then finally she just says F it, like the doctor in charge, and says, we're going to remove the cancer, which at this point means we are going to do some horribly invasive surgery to remove this critter, not just from your spine, but also from the back of your brain.
Let's be clear. They would have done this at birth.
If it could have been done, okay, I don't know what the timeline is on this. I mean, I guess they didn't have ultrasounds back when this kid was born, because you would have been like, sorry, this kid's got to go. I'm not giving birth to this mutant. I'm sorry, no offense to mutants everywhere.
The praying mantis spider baby goth rocker Samira starts crawling out of the womb. You know you gotta stop. You gotta snap off those chicken wings.
Just snap them. Snap them like a wishbone.
Yeah, because look what happened.
Well, and I found it kind of, okay, look, you and I are both school teachers. The way the doctor decides to get rid of the cancer, effectively murder Gabriel, is kind of what we would do when we'd send the kid to the office. I've had it with you. I've had it with you. Yeah. I'm going to murder you now. I've decided, we tried to do timeouts. No longer. It's now time to the murder room.
Well, this happens with conjoined twins, but that's, oh dear. But you don't wait until they're 30 years old, because one ends up being like, I learned everything from TV. So you don't wait until the damage is done. You do this shit when they
don't remember.
What were they trying to rehabilitate Spider Baby with a meat face? No, you're gonna pull that shit out, because I've seen these things like with little kids who get brain cancer. They can literally remove half their brain.
It'll grow back.
And it doesn't necessarily grow back, but they're so young that the brain rewires.
Oh yes.
So they could have pulled out Stanky Charlie with this praying mantis chicken wings, and life would have been different. But see, they were experimenting.
They waited like 6 or 7 years before finally saying, you know what, I've had it up to here with you, Gabriel. You're now going in the Glad trash bag by the side of the curb. I've had it with you.
Gabriel is crazy psychic. He's drinking electricity. He's psychically assaulting people, murdering people. I mean, that's what he's doing.
Yes, she hits, at the beginning of the movie, she hits him with like a tranq dart, and then they walk in there, and there's like 5 dead people. 5 just bodies strewn at like orderlies and nurses and whoever the hell else, just dead.
Dr. Weaver.
Poor Dr. Weaver, Who is was she the first? She was the second victim of Gabriel in the movie, if I remember correctly.
And at one point, they spell her name one way, and I swear to you, another time her name is spelled differently, like Weever, and then later on it was Weaver,
and then it was WKRP in Seattle. Good times
in Seattle.
So they have this invasive surgery where they just literally pull the chicken wings off and remove something else from the spine. And then they do some weird surgery in the back of the skull. I'm not sure how this works, where they cut the skull and then just proceed to shove Gabriel's face back into the brain area. And then they had just an extra.
I'm not sure that's what I would do.
They had some extra skull just lying around. So then they just popped that on top of Gabriel's face and then I guess sewed it back up. Is that what happened? I'm not a neurologist.
And then Gabriel went to sleep. I think I would have. I mean, there's not extra space. I mean, that's why when people have brain injuries, the brain swells and then that kills the brain. So I'm not sure if it's okay to shove another head and face inside the brain.
No.
That seems poor.
Well, and then you
slice that, get it like one of those callus removers and shave that biz
Get
down.
a melon baller and just handle your biz, is what I'm saying. Get in there.
But I was laughing so hard when they literally got the hand on Gabriel's face and they're trying to shove it in and stick that biz back up. I was like, what? So you removed everything else, the extra spine and everything, but for the head where they just looked at each other, shrugged.
There was a close-up on the shrug. I don't know. Do we have some extra skull laying around on the floor of the operating room? Toss that to me. We'll figure this out.
Give me that paper plate. You got some Tupperware?
That's basically what they did. Oh, sweet. And I guess at this point, for like the next however many years, Gabriel is dormant, although not so much, because I guess the sister realizes somehow through a George C. Scott premonition that Gabriel in her skull was responsible for all those miscarriages, that he was like absorbing the potential babies in her womb. So
to get his strength back, like the vampire.
To get his strength back. But again, didn't pop out until abusive husband literally fractures her skull. And then he's able to now, she reaches back when she's possessed or whatever, and literally opens up the back of her skull, and crazy old meat face comes out of the womb looking around at people, snarling. So good times.
I literally wrote down, why doesn't his face scab up? It's always like meat and juicy the whole
It's always
time.
well, because when she's done, he goes back in her little skull hole or whatever. Who the hell knows? And frankly, even oh sweet Jesus, I'm not a hair transplant guy, as you might imagine. You think that there would be like a patch of no hair in the back of her head, like her entire life? I mean, did they staple some Just for Men back there, or what did they do?
How about a scar from the top of her head
all the way
down to her waist? And that is some miracle surgery, because if you can literally just slice off another person off your back and no one notices, I never noticed that I have skin grafts all over my back.
Oh, right. Her back would have been like totally torn up, totally defiled and disgusting and vile. I mean, there should have been scenes with her in the shower. It would have been monstro. People would have asked questions. That's all I'm saying. What's up with your back?
The abusive husband would have said something
every day of their marriage.
It's enough that I let you touch my penis with your jacked up back. You monster, you freak.
Exactly. He would have led with that in every conversation.
Exactly. Have I shown you my wife's hideous back?
It's truly hideous. Sweet Jesus. Do you have anything else, or are you good to go?
Let me see. Let me look at my notes here. I noticed this takes place in the 1980s, and I put down they have a flat screen TV. I was like, no. We did not have a flat screen TV in the 1980s.
Oh, I thought it took place like it was modern day when she was an adult, but when it was in the past, the VHS time, then it was old school. Tell me, am I wrong?
No, maybe you're right. Because I kept looking at the TV, I was like, that don't seem right. Because everything The house seemed old, so I got the feeling that it was in the past. But you're right; it could have been. That's where I got it, because I don't know where I got that date.
Well, she's got an evil like being in her skull. She doesn't have time for interior decoration. That's all I'm saying.
And then I wrote down. You'll have to tell me what this means. Invisible asshole friends, Aquafina.
I have no idea what the hell that means. I can't interpret the ravings of a madman.
Who are her invisible asshole friends? Oh, it's her invisible friends, Gabriel.
Oh,
And then,
gotcha.
but then why do I assume it's Aquafina? You know, famous for crazy.
Well, because
Rich Asians.
Aquafina is kind of slender, I guess, and has dark hair. Who the hell?
And a meat
Oh,
face.
poor Aquafina, if you're listening, we love you. Don't take offense.
And I put down that she could date Split. When I thought Meatface was a woman, they could date Split, and this could be a whole new spin-off.
Okay, you're talking James McAvoy from the movie Split.
See, it all comes back.
Who's also Professor X?
I think
The wheels all turn together. There we go.
There we
Good
go.
times.
It's all part of the Marvel universe.
Is.
Here we go.
Are you ready for behind the scenes?
You better tell me, because this movie's a masterpiece.
The Seattle Underground is a real tour that you can take about the.
No, I had tickets and we were getting drunk, so I was late, and they don't let you go late
Because of Malignant. Malignant is down there.
because of Malignant.
Malignant does his
right.
stuff.
That's where they keep the spider babies.
That's correct. James Wan, who wrote and directed this, he had written a graphic novel many years ago called Malignant Man, which is about a guy who gets a tumor and then becomes kind of like, it grants him certain powers or something, and he becomes a superhero. This has nothing to do with that. And if you create two things and they both have Malignant in the title, you think there would be some connection. I don't know. Come with something else.
They were trying to play it off at the beginning that this was one of those, you know how people get those tumors and then inside they find like hair and stuff that. They were trying to play this off. But I think if your hair and teeth cyst also has psychic powers, there may be something more going on.
Well, they say that this is actually not that rare. Not the full crazy malignant coming out of your back, but that at one point you might have had like a twin for a brief moment, and then you kind of absorb them.
That's like why you have the two different colored eyes.
Like David Bowie. He's got a malignant eye.
He's a chimera.
That is true. Very true. McKenna Grace played young Emily in the flashbacks. And she received a special appearance credit for her work. Do you know McKenna Grace?
She was pure Samira. Yeah, Samira. That's her.
That is not... Well, she's in the new Ghostbusters movie as well. She's been in a ton of stuff. House on Haunted Hill.
Yes.
Okay, anyway. Good times.
I did see the House on Haunted Hill.
The one from Netflix is the one I'm talking about. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, she played one of the siblings.
The series, right?
Yeah.
That was good. It had a shit ending.
It did,
but it was good.
The House on Haunted Hill was so creepy when it started, and then it just became kind of nonsensical and boring. Very sad.
Like Bird Box.
Very sad. Like poor Bird Box.
Poor Bird Box.
Madison Wolfe was from Conjuring too, and she played young Janet in this movie. If you know who that is, she played one of the sisters from Conjuring 2 who were faking the whole haunted house deal.
I love Conjuring.
Stephen King praised this movie in his Twitter.
Yeah, as he should. Good job,
He
Steve.
said, "I watched 'Malignant on HBO and thought it was brilliant." Steve is good about that. He reads a lot of stuff. He watched a lot of movies, and he'll happily.
He's supportive.
He is. He's very supportive. Unless you are what's her name that wrote the Twilight books. He wrote long old missives about how she can't write and all this stuff. Very sad. Stephanie Meyer.
He's
not wrong at all. Let's see. Dr. Weaver explains that Gabriel is a teratoma.
Yeah, isn't that the tumor with the teeth? I keep waiting for Dr. Pimple Popper to pop open one of those and have it talk back.
Etymologically, teratoma, the prefix terata or teratos means monster in Greek, and toma means
Nice.
tumor, like melanoma or
Mon-
carcinoma. So
Monster
tumor. Very sad.
Does that mean teeth and hair, or does it mean big?
I don't know what it means. That's a good question. Very sad. The crazy, we didn't even talk about this. When Gabriel's in control of the body, there's a lot of like snapping, like limbs cracking because he walks backwards.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. It was very Suspiria, where he dislocates the arm so it goes in the other direction, and
a lot of snapping. Now, that was not done with CGI. They actually hired a Ukrainian dancer contortionist to do all of the crazy body work. So good times.
Poor people, the Eastern Bloc.
That's what they do. That's what they have to do. It's a sad situation.
Oh, it was jacked up for sure.
I think that's probably. The protagonist closely parallels the apocryphal case of Edward Mordrake. There is a urban legend from England about the character of Edward Mordrake. They talk about how this guy had a face on the back of his skull, who would, when he would smile, the face would frown, kind of thing. And eventually the guy committed suicide because he said that the voice just kept talking to him. He couldn't sleep at night because the evil voice on the back of the head just kept speaking to him.
What? That's fantastic. Where's that movie?
Check it out. Check it out.
That's terrible.
Now it's apocryphal.
Oh, wait a minute. What if it was Chang and Ing and they both had faces on the back of their heads? That means they were quadruplets, conjoined quadruplets.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm waiting for that. Hollywood.
I think I'm going to have a nightmare. So there you go. Good times had by all. I think it's about it. I spoke about the cast but ever so briefly, but let me talk about them again. First of all, we talked about James Wan directed it and wrote it. You know him.
Fantastic.
The Conjuring movies, the Saw movies, Aquaman. He did Furious 7. He did.
Okay, now I'm drifting
Insidious.
away. As soon as you said Aquaman, my mind started drifting.
How dare you. Let's see. Annabelle Wallace played the central character Madison Mitchell. You might know her from Annabelle. She was ironic. Her name's Annabelle in real life. She was in the Annabelle movie. She was in the more recent Mummy movie with Tom Cruise. No. She played a very small role in X-Men First Class. See, it all comes back to Professor X.
I did see that. See, it all comes back. My son will come in here. You know, it's all part of the Marvel universe. They're all living in the same.
It's all connected.
Gibberish.
Maddie Hassan played her sister Sydney. You know her in. Not familiar with any of these. God Bless America, Twisted, Impulse. No. You know them, don't you?
No. No. She was fine though. I mean, the acting was fine. Absolutely. I didn't have any.
No, the acting was great.
Acting. There were no Costners.
No, there were not. George Young played Kakoa Shaw. You know him, one of the detectives. He was in *Malignant* and some other movies. *Home*, *Containment*, *Grace*. I've not heard of any of these movies.
Community Theater. Shakespeare in the Park.
Nicole Brianna White played Regina Moss, the other detective. You know her from Encino Man. Holy crap. I have to go back and watch that. She's also in Volcano and Courage Under Fire. She's actually a real actress who's done things that people have seen.
She's done stuff. No, she was great.
She was good. Jean Louisa Kelly played the 15-year-old mom who later re-enters the life. I did not recognize her at all. She was in a ton of stuff in the 90s. She was in Uncle Buck as the oldest daughter.
What?
She was in Yes Dear for 6 years, that comedy. You know it, don't you? No. She was in Mr. Holland's Opus. She was.
No, I refuse.
She was. If you ever anybody else who happened to see Mr. Holland's Opus, she was the musician that wants crispy old Richard Dreyfuss to run away with her, like the 17-year-old student.
Oh, I did see that. I could never look at Richard Dreyfuss again the same. Where I want Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws.
That's the one we want. Absolutely. So
That's
that was
absolutely.
because she looks, I mean, obviously it's been 25 years or whatever. God bless her. But
She's the oldest girl, right?
yes,
The
yes,
oldest girl. Oh, I loved her.
she was great. So there you have it. Good times had by all. Shall we talk about the ratings?
Oh, mofo, yes.
Get you ready. Malignant currently has a 75% certified fresh.
That's a crime. That's
Do you
a
want-
crime. That's a crime against
Do you want another
humanity.
crime? 52% audience score.
What?
Sad situation. It is a controversial movie. Some people love it.
People got the COVID fever in their brain for them to even.
They've got
think
the
that.
malignant in the brain. I think it's the right answer. It's a sad situation.
They need to cut that biz out before it's too late.
Cut that Get Gabriel out of your brain is all I'm saying. Let me take a look at some top critics. See if I recognize any of these.
I don't even know who is a movie critic anymore.
I don't either. Yeah, I'm scrolling. There's a bunch of people. I mean, it was a very popular movie. Let's just say.
I mean, we're all lazy now, so we just check Rotten Tomatoes. Versus the old days, we used to watch Siskel and Ebert, or there'd be people, they'd be like, yeah, I always follow so-and-sos because they think like me, and what do they have to say? And now I'll go. Now it's like,
Well, I can scroll through here, and there are some reputable things. There's Hollywood Reporter. There's RobertEbert.com, his website, New York Times. It is really controversial. I mean, people love it, 4.5 out of 5, and there are people who gave it 1 out of 4. So it is all over the map.
I don't even understand a 1 out of 4. Is it because you don't like horror movies or you don't like being entertained? Obviously, this is a malignant person that would give it 1 out of 4 ratings. Obviously, he has a teratoma that is controlling his decisions.
Well, there's somebody here from the QAnon Times who said, I don't like to be entertained. 1 star. Very sad. I have to say, I'm looking at the poster for Malignant, and it doesn't really tell. It's like kind of misleading. It's like the long eye is coming down like it's a spike about to go into somebody's eye. When did anything like that happen in this movie?
I don't know, but it gives you the giallo vibe, and it's a great graphic.
It's that Lucio Fulci kind of vibe.
Not Fulci, it's Argento, brother. Fulci running to get a bucket to start the vomiting.
Just to start the vomiting. So what is your rating, since you're the water bearer for this movie?
I am feeling so positive. There's so much I like about it. I like the giallo. I like all of a sudden there's a red light during a crisis. I thought they could have leaned more into it, more extreme lighting, more of the crazy climactic music. I really actually went out to find the soundtrack because I wanted to listen to it because it totally reminded me of all those old
Goblin.
It's less disco than Goblin.
So what's your rating?
Okay, I'm gonna be bold, brother, and you're gonna freak out.
I will.
I'm gonna give it 4.5. Teratoma olives in my martini. Boom.
I'm going to give it 3.5 meat faces on the back of your head. Is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. You loved it. I mean, you saw this movie and were like, "Oh, it was the best movie in the world." I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was going to be crap. I really thought it was going to be crap.
Okay, well,
I enjoyed it better than Candyman.
That is interesting. It's hard for me to say. I kind of think they're comparable in a way.
I liked it because there were scary moments. I like the giallo, you're trying to figure it out aspect. But I also like the kitschy, campy stuff of there's a spider skeleton on your back. I loved all that. So I thought it had like a modern take on some of our schlockier movies and like some Argento all thrown in, but you don't have to throw up like the new adaptation of the Suspiria. Yeah.
Did you have to throw up at the new adaptation of this new Suspiria?
No, but Dakota Johnson flailing around, cracking herself to death was pretty extreme.
So you didn't want the Eli Roth experience, is what you're saying?
I'm waiting for Eli Roth's version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
That would be great. Well, Rob Zombie is doing a version of the Munsters. Have you heard about that?
I gotta tell you, I hate
As
Rob
do
Zombie.
I. So I'm trying to envision what his version of the Munsters would be like. I mean, it would be in an insane asylum. Who's to say? Who knows what's going on?
All I can tell you is Rotten Tomatoes better tell me it's like 80 plus before me to open up my wallet to go see.
Open
that
up your
shit.
skull to go see that.
Open up. That's right. Unless Gabriel pops out of my head and wants
Malignant
to go
might see it.
Then I have no
That is
control.
true. It's a sad situation. So thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, we're on Instagram. What's the word?
I believe it's called The Podcast That Wouldn't Die on the Insta.
So check that out. You can email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Also, Good Pods. Check out that good stuff as well. Aaron, what is your personal internet social media bonanza?
My internet provider?
I want to know your email address for all the world to know.
And on a totally random thing, I just got my mail, and there's this company that wants access to my internet screen-wise panel. And I think it's like Nielsen, but they would like to track whatever I'm watching that comes through my Wi-Fi. For $20 a month. I'm thinking that's probably not a good idea.
I'm saying for 20, count me in. I mean, I'm not watching too much. Too much inappropriate stuff. Who's to say, though, I guess?
You have to give them complete access to all your Wi-Fi. So anything that streams, any device that streams in your home that goes through the Wi-Fi, they have access
Well,
to.
good luck going through my Wi-Fi. That's all I'm going to say. Sweet Jesus.
Anyway, back to my social media. The Cult of Aaron, join the cult, and Don't Feed the Pigeon on the Insta.
Beautiful. Next week, we'll be doing the science fiction classic, Time Cop.
With JCVD.
Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ron Silver as the evil senator trying to take over time itself. Good Lord. People complain.
Poor Ron Silver. Poor Ron Silver. He was so good in Reverse.
And in Silent Rage. So, anywho, I mean, look, he's got to pay the bills just like anybody else. And people complain that we only do horror movies. I would come back and say,
Who?
You. I guess people don't complain about
Not
it.
me.
People just mention it casually in conversation. They're just...
I mean, we could go watch the new Wes Anderson if you'd like to
we could. It's not that we are avoiding sci-fi. We just kind of go with the flow. Whatever kind of blows into the transoms of our mind, that's where we go. So,
the truth is, we decided we shouldn't just do horror, but we really don't like sci-fi that much, so we just threw
that
it.
That is not true. Damn you! But
and then Kevin says we can't watch Willow because it's not sci-fi; it's fantasy.
That is correct. We're not the. I'm trying to think of the podcast. Who the hell? The podcast, The Barbarian.
The Conan the Barbarian.
Something along those lines. A sad situation. The Beastmaster. Anyway, there you have it. Thank you very much. And be well.
Later, folks.